Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am Hari Vishwanatha at Santa Monica College. I teach English, and I'm delighted, absolutely delighted, that as part of the literary series, which has been going on for 23 years, more than 23 years now, I've curated that for 23 years plus at SMC. We have this semester the wonderful, delightful Leye Adenle, a Nigerian crime fiction writer, and he now lives in London. And through the magic of Zoom and the web, he's able to join us. So this is one of the benefits of Zoom and the online environment. With all its limitations, it makes it possible for us to have Leye Adenle. And I know if it had not been on Zoom, we would not have been able to bring him to our campus and then listen to what he has to say. So thank you to everyone for coming. Leye Adenle, a Nigerian-born crime thriller author who lives in London, is known for his gripping and suspenseful stories that explore the darker side of human nature. His debut novel, Easy Motion Tourist, won the prestigious Prix Marianne in France in 2016. His other notable novels include When Trouble Sleeps and Unfinished Business. Adenle's writing is characterized by its vivid descriptions of Nigerian society, which he portrays with a gritty realism that captures the complexity of life in a country that is often misunderstood by outsiders. His novels delve into issues such as corruption, inequality, and violence, while also exploring the humanity of his characters and the choices they make in the face of adversity. His writing has appeared in publications such as The Big Issue, and he has written and recorded pieces for BBC Radio 4 and BBC World Service. In addition to his writing, Adenle is a frequent speaker on issues related to African literature and culture, and has given talks at universities and literary festivals around the world. I thought I would share with you just a small excerpt from one of his novels, When Trouble Sleeps. Ojo, who is an important figure in this novel, tells another character. Lagos, or maybe some people pronounce it Lagos, is truly the only place in the world where you can go to bed a pauper and wake up a billionaire. Ojo said. Shehu listened by his side in the back seat of the Mercedes. Look at me. Just yesterday I was no more than a joke to all those people, and today they're calling me Excellency. Imagine, Lagos Nawa O. Leye Adenle.
Thank you for that amazing introduction. I feel like I was listening to the bio of some writer I want to be like. So thank you so much for that. And thanks everyone for joining this about an hour or thereabouts. Thanks for reading the book. I hope you enjoy it. When Trouble Sleeps, I believe is the one you're reading. Yeah. Then the latest book in the series, Unfinished Business, came out in November last year. And I'm currently working on the 4th book in the series. I thought I'd talk about AI today because it's something that's been bugging the entire world. But that was the plan. And now I'm thinking, how relevant is that to you? How relevant is AI in writing to this group of people? So perhaps we would look at crime writing in general. Perhaps we would talk about how crime writing, unlike any other genre, I believe, holds a mirror to society. How crime writing, apart from any other genre that is out there, is the best at recording what's going on in any society at any point in time. And how crime writing, I believe, and I have a recording from James Elroy, where he said this as well. I think crime writing is the best genre in the entire world of literature. I can prove it. Not to knock other genres of writing, but if I'm doing literary fiction, I can spend a whole page or two or three setting the scene, talking about the inner thoughts of my protagonist, developing a character. I can probably condense everything I do in 5 pages in a literary fiction piece into one sentence, and you wouldn't have lost anything. You would have missed all the flowery language and all the beautiful prose. However, very often, nothing happens in these books for so many pages. You cannot do that with crime writing. Crime writing is that one genre, I believe, where it's almost a science to write a crime fiction novel. I'm still trying to get good at that science. Every single word has to be important. Every single phrase, every single sentence moves the story on. Your characters cannot suddenly behave differently from what they've done or they've done throughout the book. They need to be consistent internally in their thoughts and externally in their actions. Your plot has to be tight because I'm sure you know from books you've read, if your plot is not tight, somebody in the audience at some book event is going to point out to you the mistake you made, the error you made. That never happens with romance novels or literary fiction or sci-fi or fantasy where you're just making it up. But with crime fiction, unlike any other genre, it's almost an engineering feat. Everything needs to come together to work perfectly, and nothing is wasted. You do not bore your readers with beautiful writing. I'm not trying to excuse my bland writing, but what's the purpose of beautiful words if they don't move the story along? Now, I may be wrong. It's just a thought that I have about crime writing. And I was wondering, is there anybody here who's planning on writing a crime novel at any point?
Me?
Fantastic. Now, may I ask you, please, what draws you to crime? Novels, not crime itself.
I like reading it and then like picturing myself like in it, like how you said, like don't bore. My first like little crime book, it was like a military thing, like this lady got murdered and raped on there, like not or whatever. But I just like how like listening and reading it about it and like how like the crime started or the weirdo or the serial killer and it tells you kind of a backstory and it keep going about like how the crime go and then how it gets solved. I don't know. I guess I like how the mystery and stuff of it.
Brilliant. So you like being able to see yourself in the world of the novel?
Like when I read it, I like to like picture myself and stuff, or try to describe like how the character would be, or how this person would be, how they like tell you about them, like how they communicate or be looking, or if they like, weird or something. But yeah,
Cool. And you like the mystery as well, solving the case.
yeah, stop it.
Okay. And uh, are there any other genres you like to read?
Um, I just be picking like books on Amazon or whatever, and then I used to be like in the libraries, and I just pick like different mystery and like crime and stuff or whatever, or like about somebody's life and it's like a little crime or whatever, or they may go to jail or something. But I don't know. It always been like that. Even like on Netflix, I'll be watching like the videos or little short movies or like documentaries about them though.
Okay, that's one thing all crime writers we all have in common. We love all those crime shows, and
Yeah.
we love them. We consume them, and we all seem to have the same thing in common. We can see ourselves in the world of the stories. Of course, any well-written book should transport the reader into that world. But with crime writing specifically, with especially crime thrillers, with a heightened, with anxious anxiety that you create in your readers and everything, we're able to totally transport people into new worlds where, because we're writing crime, which has to be true to the socioeconomic situation of the area we're writing it in, because all crime comes from what's going on in an area, we're able to then take people into places they've never been, to visit countries, cultures, situations they would never be in, and to enjoy it in a safe way before they come out of it, right? So we're able to give people like a jab, like we create excitement in people when they read us, right? I don't get excited when I read other genres. I don't read a beautiful literary fiction, which I love, by the way, and then my heart is beating fast and I can't wait to turn the page and I can't leave the book. I don't read a romance book, which I strongly suggest that people don't read, because they just make you believe things that are not real about romance. But I don't read a romance novel and then I'm excited. Are they going to get together? They're not going to get together. And then my heart is beating fast. It doesn't happen. I don't get lost in that world. Whereas with crime writing, we totally immerse our readers in the world. We totally get them believing in the story we're telling. And we do something a little bit insidious when that's happening. We create empathy. Crime thrillers, unlike any other genre, I believe, is the one genre that does what writing is said to do, builds empathy in humans. So the more you read, the more you have an understanding of other people, the more you empathize with what they're going through, the more tolerant people become. Now, in crime writing specifically, where the pains someone is going through or their hardship is not romanticized like in other genres, you not only get your readers to identify with the protagonist with clever plotting, you also get them to feel the humanity of the antagonist. You can also help them understand where the criminal is coming from. You can help them see that there's shades of gray to right and wrong. Nobody's good and nobody's necessarily bad, or not good all the time or not bad all the time. And I don't think this magic, this ability of our genre, my genre to do that is something that we have that other genres have. Now, in my genre, there's also subgenres. There's Nordic noir. Has anybody read any Nordic noir fiction recently? Harry?
We are reading Henning Mankel's Faceless Killers later this semester.
All right, brilliant.
And also a new novelist called Marie Ljungstedt from Sweden also.
Okay. Nordic noir was all the rage a while back. All right. What I write, we call sunshine noir. Crime set in the hot climates, And here's the thing about Nordic noir. I'm not bashing it, but I just have to say this. I read Nordic noir. I love them. I have a lot of friends who like Nordic noir. However, I don't believe them. I don't believe that all that crime is happening there. I find it difficult to suspend all logic and believe that in these places where they have snow all the time, it's cold all the time, where the greatest crime committed in a week might be someone has shoved snow onto your sidewalk, that every other house has a dungeon beneath it where people are being kept prisoner and tortured every day. It's almost as if from the gloom, from the darkness of these countries, the perpetual winter, as it were, their minds go into dark places and manufactures things that don't actually happen. Now, that's different with sunshine noir, with my subgenre, because from Dion Meyer, the South African crime writer, to Helena Billa's dabbled a bit in crime, to everybody who's writing crime thrillers in hot places, we actually write about things that are not only possible, but sometimes we're guilty of giving the criminals ideas, because you write a book and then a few months later or a few years later, someone has done a crime that looks like they studied your work. My point is, with this genre, we actually capture what it means to be human in a specific location at a specific time. I know I sound like I'm promoting my genre, but why not? It's the best genre in the world. Now, I did prepare a very long, a very boring talk about AI and what AI is going to do to crime writing. And when I finished the work on this, I realized that I was trying to solve a problem that maybe I didn't really understand. Maybe it wasn't fully understood yet. And then it occurred to me that maybe I need to ask readers what they think about AI, not just in crime writing, but in writing in general. We've been here many times before. You know, it's not the first time that we've had technologies that were going to save the world, or that was going to change the world and destroy all of us. For example, Plato, writing in 375 to 365 BC, in one of his dialogues where he imagines his Socrates, you know, having a conversation with one of his students. I think that was anyway, he writes this, and permit me to read this, because I think it's very instructive to the existential threat that a lot of creators feel about AI. So writing that long ago, Plato wrote this: I heard then that Naucratis in Egypt was one of the ancient gods of that country. The one whose sacred bird is called Ibis, and the name of the god himself was Thoth. It was who invented numbers, that's important, and arithmetic and geometry and astronomy, and also drafts and dice, and most important of all, letters. Sorry, not numbers, letters. Now, the king of all Egypt at the time was the god Tammuz, who lived in the great city of the upper region, which the Greeks call the Egyptian Thebes, and they call the god himself Ammon. To him came thoughts to show his invention, saying that they ought to be imparted to the other Egyptians. This is his letter writing, amongst other things. Alphabet, the ability to store knowledge, is what Thoth, I think is pronounced. Nobody knows how they pronounce those words those days. I'd come to show to the king. But Thomas asked what use there is in each, and as Thoth enumerated their uses, he expressed praise or blame according as he approved or disapproved. The story goes that Thomas said many things to Thoth in praise or blame of the various arts, which it would take too long to repeat. But when they came to the letters, to writing, this invention, O God, O king, said Thoth, will make the Egyptians wiser and will improve their memories, for it is an elixir of memory and wisdom that I have discovered. But Thomas replied, most ingenious Thoth, one man has the ability to beget arts, but the ability to judge of their usefulness or harmfulness to their users belongs to another. And now you, who are the father of letters, have been led by your affection to ascribe to them a power, the opposite of that which they really possess. For this invention will produce forgetfulness in the minds of those who learn to use it, because they will not practice their memory. Their trust in writing, produced by external characters which are not parts of themselves, would discourage the use of their memory within them. You have invented an elixir, not of memory, but of reminding. And you offer your pupils the appearance of wisdom, not true wisdom, for they will read many things without instruction, and they will therefore seem to know many things when they are, for the most part, ignorant and hard to get along with, since they're not wise, but only appear wise. I thought this was interesting, you know. As far back as the time of Socrates and Plato and all of that, inventions that seemed we're going to change the world. We're being faced with a lot of skepticism. I mean, I'm old enough or young enough as it might be to have lived through many inventions and advances in science that was going to change the world, you know, like mobile phones were going to fry our brain. 5G was going to give us coronavirus. TV screens would destroy our eyes. Sony, when they invented the Walkman in 1979, people were afraid that the streets were going to be littered with dead youths who listened to their music through large headphones would not hear cars coming. But none of this has come to pass. We've always approached new technology with fear, with hesitance, and I think it's good. I think there's a role for that. But when it comes to AI, it scares me, especially as a crime writer. It scares me because I asked AI, for example, to write a synopsis for a crime thriller set in Lagos. This is what he came up with. The Lagos Connection. The Lagos Connection is a crime thriller set in the bustling city of Lagos, Nigeria. The story follows the life of a young and ambitious lawyer named Tunde, who gets caught up in the dangerous web of corruption and criminal activity. Tunde is hired by a wealthy businessman named Akintola to help him acquire a large parcel of land that is owned by a community of poor residents. However, as Tunde digs deeper into the case, he uncovers a network of bribery and extortion that runs deep into the heart of Lagos. Despite the mounting danger and threats to his life, Tunde is determined to bring the criminals to justice and expose the corruption that is plaguing the city. But as he gets closer to the truth, he realizes that he has become a target himself, and the stakes are higher than he could have imagined. In the thrilling climax, Tunde confronts the mastermind behind the criminal organization, but he is tragically killed in the ensuing gun battle. However, his sacrifice is not in vain, as his evidence leads to the arrest and conviction of the criminals involved. I don't know why AI decided to kill its protagonist, but this was in seconds. It probably took quicker to generate than it took my computer screen to show it. Now, what this tells me is that AI can do exactly what I do. I know some people, especially crime writers, would be very kind and say, oh, no, they can't, but it can. And I'm not going to subject you to the rest of this long thing I wrote, but the method I use to write it is the same method I use when I'm writing any book. I place a thought in my head, the intent, and then I do nothing. I go about my days, my life, you know. And since I came up with the idea to talk about this, because like I said, it's an existential threat to a lot of artists. But since I placed that thought in my head, it took months before I wrote anything. In that time that I wasn't doing anything, because I had intentionally placed a thought in my brain, my RAS, reticular activating system, went about looking for connections. It began to access all the information I had in my mind, in my brain. It began to I like that. Thanks, Paul. I saw a meme just this morning about AI writing. Why would I bother to read something nobody bothered to write? I like that. here's the thing. When it's not distinguishable, what do? How do you know? The very same process through which I write books, in a very similar way, is what AI does. Whereas I have a thought in my head and then allow my subconscious, as it were, to find connections from all the information I have in my head and to notice things around me that are relevant to this thing I've placed in my head. And eventually, a thought forms, an idea comes to life, and I can write that down. Be it plotting a new book, writing a difficult chapter, revising anything, this is my process. And that's exactly, in a way, what AI does, isn't it? Only that AI does it much faster, without errors, and has access not to what's in Leye's mind, but to the entire World Wide Web. ChatGPT has now been, I think it's been refreshed with latest data now. So all that AI does, some types of AI, is it looks into, what's been done, and then it comes up with something that looks like what's been done and all of that. So what happens when, and I have no doubt that there are writers right now who are passing off AI as their work. In fact, I understand that on Amazon, some AI books are doing quite well. And of course, as a writer, that scares me. It might surprise you to know that my original position on AI, which it still is to embrace it. So being dyslexic, I use a tool, I subscribe to a tool called Killbot, which checks my spelling and my grammar and punctuation. And it's amazing. I don't need to cringe each time I send my manuscript to my editor, afraid of all the red mark that's going to come back to me, all the editing. So that helps me a lot. However, I think the line should be drawn at actually using AI to generate the work. I have absolutely no doubt that AI-generated art, be it painting, poetry, music, literature, anything, is going to find its own market. There's going to be a subculture of people. I can place a bet on it. We're going to find a subculture of people, very much like the punks in those days, who are devoted to AI-created art, who love it, who can't get enough of it, and that's great. But then where does that leave people like yours truly? I have a solution. I think it must become, we must agree that anything created by AI, rather than try and suppress it, must be labeled as such. And things created by good old, gray matter, would be labeled imagined by, insert name of author, or from the mind of something. And I hope that's going to give it, it's going to give us a few more years or decades of being relevant before AI totally takes over. But like I said, I feel like I'm solving a problem that doesn't really exist, that has not fully revealed itself, or that I do not fully understand. So I'm quite eager to hear from readers your thoughts on AI-generated literature. There's some amazing conversations going on in the chat. Give me a second, I'm just going to read that. You can't really know. It's it's still distinguishable in some ways. Hold on, I have a coughing fit. I'm just reading in there. Joshua wrote, you can't really know. It's still distinguishable in some ways at the moment, but progress marches on. AI will continue to get better at writing. I should have gotten some water when I went downstairs. Give me a moment, I'll just clear my...
Certainly.
Might that be AI trying to silence me? Like, what are you doing? Why are you talking against me? You can't really know. It's still distinguished in some ways. So let's make it a discussion. What do you think about AI in writing? Anyone?
I'm afraid, like, well, I'm not afraid. Well, I just think it's gonna take other people's jobs, or like, and like just be writing books that won't give like humans like a chance to like do stuff.
Several jobs will go. Some jobs are gone already. We just have to accept that some jobs are gone. If you think about it, right, until cars became common and mainstream, even in so-called modern terms, right, we relied on horses. Then cars were invented, or rather cars became mass-produced and everything. And in less than 10 years, an entire industry that catered for horse-drawn carriages, horses and all of that, gone. Saddle makers, carriage makers, places where they kept horses, gone. And if those people did not see it coming, I hate to think of what happened to them. But that's happening now. My first degree is in no, my second degree is in information technology. I was messing around with AI, and I asked AI to write me code snippets, right? To put a ball, to display a ball on my screen, and it'll bounce randomly, but anytime it hits the edge of my screen, it'll bounce away from it. And he wrote the code in seconds. In my day as a programmer, it would have taken me, unless I found someone who'd written that same code on GitHub or something, it'll take me hours to get it right, maybe even weeks, you know, because we didn't have object-oriented programming and all the ready libraries then. It would have taken me a long time, but it did it like that. So if I'm going to build a piece of software now, am I really going to hire developers? Or am I just going to get AI with my rudimentary knowledge of programming? I call it rudimentary because programming 20 years ago is not programming now. Would I hire anyone? Or would I just do it myself? Selfishly, I like to think that whereas such jobs, programmer, copywriter, editor, I think those are gone. But I still hope that readers would rather consume art by humanity, by humans. And I'm saying this with the hope that there'll be a resounding yes from all of you. But I see a lot of silence, so maybe it's too late for us already.
Yes.
Paul has raised hand.
Yeah, I
Please,
have a question.
Paul, go ahead.
So
Yeah.
do you think that the results of the writers' strike for the entertainment industry has made any kind of either a stopper or a delay in this kind of situation? Because when you get right down to it, all our entertainment, from books to movies to video games, all even reality TV and game shows all start with some sort of writer's concept. And what you're describing is that AI would just take all that over. Your idea about even a software concept, eventually the AIs would come up with those concepts, and you wouldn't even, there would be no creativity except for what's coming from the machine. And that's what kind of worries me. But I also wonder whether or not there's enough pushback from the public and from the creative world that would put a stopper on that.
I was so happy with strikes. I was so happy. I embraced it. If I was in the States, I would have been there with them. And I think they've gained some ground, but I think all they've really managed to do is to delay the inevitable. It's here, it's happened. It's like, I remember there was a time when pocket calculators were not common. And when they became common, when Casio came up with these small pocket calculators, everybody was saying then, oh, students will become very dull. They won't do maths in their heads anymore. But we know that didn't happen, You can't stop technology. It's like, it's once you've opened that box, that's it. It's out. You've let the genie out of the lamp or whatever. You cannot stop it. I have no doubt that some of those writers who were on the picket lines, who fought hard for this result, I'm grateful to them. I have no doubt that some of them will use AI in their work. I have no doubt that some of them will get AI to write entire episodes of sitcoms or series because, what they wrote initially wasn't good enough, or they forgot to write it, or they were too stressed out to come up with any idea. AI doesn't have writer's block. Writer's block is a myth, by the way. It's just laziness, really. But yeah, I really think that we can stop it. We don't even need to accept it. It's not something you have to accept. It's here. It's always going to be here. There are already books written by AI on Amazon. I'm sure there are books written by AI that are being passed off as some flesh and blood author's work. I don't think we can stop it. I think the only thing that can happen is we can differentiate. There could be a market for AI stuff, a market for human imagined art, and I don't see an in-between. It's okay to use AI to check your writing, even to write a summary of your long manuscript. I have no qualms with that. But if you're creating plots using AI, getting AI to write parts of your book or all of it, I think it should be labeled as such. And I'm hoping that some premium will be placed by readers on books written by full humans. And I also foresee a future in which there'll be scandals and debates. Someone is going to win some prestigious award, and then somebody's going to start a rumor or accuse them of, this is AI generated content, and people will bring receipts and people will have denials, and then it'll become court cases. I think we've opened Pandora's box. It's an exciting and scary new world, but I don't think there's any coming back from it. My other job is as a coach, an executive coach. So I very often sit at my desk like I'm doing now on Zoom or any other teleconferencing or remote working tool. And then I work with clients. There's already talk of AI coaches, where rather than myself, anybody who wants to talk to a coach for whatever reason would just, spin up an AI machine. In fact, I suspect that if I have a coaching type conversation with Siri, Siri will ask me the kind of questions that I had to study hard to learn to ask. And being powerful questions, the kind of questions you ask your clients that helps them to think deeper and creatively about what it is they want to deal with. I think when my clients say something to me and Siri or this AI coach has access to all the writing on coaching, to all the examples of coaching, sessions, it's going to come up with great questions to ask, great responses that's going to make it feel as if it has empathy, it has connected with that person, it understands what they're going through. It's interesting. Humanity, we're at a point, or we have been at a point for a very long time where we have the technology for nobody, not one human, to lack any basic human need. There's no reason for it. There's absolutely no reason on earth now. There's no scarcity of resources. There's no scarcity of anything, right? That says some people should live without heating in winter, or should live under a bridge or in a tent. You know, we have the technology to make sure that everybody's okay. Everybody has healthcare. Everybody has shelter. Everybody has access to green spaces. We can do that. We have the ability and the resources to do that, but we have chosen time and time again not to do it. Now we have AI. We have a tool that says, you know what? All those things that used to be difficult for us to do, that we had to spend ages getting done, AI can just do it for us. We don't need to work anymore. We're at the point, once again, where humanity can demonstrate its humanity in looking after everybody. AI, I believe, has that power. But I fear that the form of capitalism that we've chosen in the world is going to usurp this technology, which it already has. It's going to enrich organizations and billionaires and people who are already rich. And the people they no longer need. They don't care about us. It's the fear I have with this. I don't think as humans we're evolved enough to be actually human. You know, I think we've been Homo sapiens for too long. Now we're becoming Homo technology, but all our development has been at the sacrifice of our humanity. And I think this is what's going to happen with AI. I don't think that, I mean, if the writers did not, you know, decide, yep, we're not writing, the big studios run by people who've never written anything in their lives, they would never have, you know, done the things that the writers asked for. You would have hoped that people who've made billions of writers would look at AI and say, proactively tell writers, hey guys, this new technology is around. Let's talk about it. How do you want to use it? How don't you want to use it? We want you to drive it. You would have expected that they'll do that. But no, profit and profit alone was their motivation, was their guiding force. I think that's what's going to happen with AI. You know, I think it's all going to be down to profit. Look, we all believe in, I'm sorry I'm ranting, but these are things that really bother me. You know, if you look at everything, electric cars, it's a great example of the tyranny of rampant capitalism. The electric car. When cars were first invented, electric cars were going to be the thing, all right? It was going to be electric cars. Electric cars existed long before, you know, petrol cars. So it was a competition between gas cars, gasoline cars, and electric cars. And because some billionaires, some rich people who had oil wanted to sell oil, they suppressed electric cars. We would have always had electric cars, always. Imagine if when the Ford T model was first made, when this old, what you now see in museums, imagine if instead of those things that pollute the environment, that's going to not kill the earth, but kill the ability of the earth to support humans, which might be a good thing. Imagine if we'd been using electric cars then. Imagine the advances we would have made with electricity by now. Fast forward to the modern day. Now electric cars are all the rage. But capitalism is still punching us because every single electric car is not priced appropriately. And I'll say what I mean. It doesn't take into account the cost to environment of the batteries, of mining the cobalt. It doesn't care that children are using bare hands to mine cobalt in the Congo. It's not on the telly. It's not on the news. Nobody's talking about it. There's this new Tesla. Great. Now we have EVs. We have trucks that are electric vehicles. Amazing. Very soon we're going to have electric aeroplanes. Wow, it's going to all be clean. But where are the batteries coming from? If you just Google where electric batteries come from, it's sad. Now, all these governments know about this. All these car companies know exactly where they're buying this thing. They're cheap. They're not paying the country's tax. They're not paying the real cost of it. They're just taking it, just extracting, and in the worst way possible. It's not, it's polluting the environment, it's destroying the environment, and it's using child labor. But capitalism doesn't care. I'm also guilty of it. I have an iPhone. I know for a fact that child labor is involved in my iPhone, right? So I don't think humanity has ever managed to be really human. And I think technology takes us further away from what it means to be human. And I fear it's going to take us away so much that that ability to appreciate art created by another human would be lost as well. We wouldn't care. We'll get to a stage where we're just going to be partying as the world, as the earth burns on the one side of the hemisphere and drowns on another side. Apologies, I know it's morning there with you guys, and I'm being very drab, and but it's just something that bothers me quite a lot. I wish I could read all these comments.
Thank you. If I could just go, I think iPhone, somebody called iPhone had a hand up earlier. Does he or she have a comment or a question? Please go ahead. No? Okay.
Maybe iPhone has taken it personal when I talked about iPhone.
All right. Continue, please. Leye, let's just continue. We'll wait for another question or a hand.
Yeah, I'm just going through. There's an interesting comment here. I believe our best bet is to create transparency around AI. Yep. As you said, the use of AI is inevitable. If this taboo around using AI persists, people will try to hide the involvement of it. Absolutely. Problems arise when readers cannot discern whether the content they're consuming is human-made or not. But here's the question. Does it matter to you as readers if the content you're consuming was created by AI or by a human?
Yes, of course. It makes a difference, isn't it? Especially in the arts. I mean, we call it humanities for a reason, don't we? It's creation of human beings, and that, I mean, well, activities like literature make us more human. So I think it's important that we make the distinction between something that is AI generated and something that is human generated. So to me, that is the ongoing challenge. Can we still continue to make the distinction, be able to make the distinction as AI becomes more and more sophisticated?
Paul says, but if we don't know it's AI and we're entertained, I would feel like someone has tricked me. If I watch an episode of, there's currently no sitcom I'm watching actually. Say they brought back Modern Family, which I loved, right? And then I watch a new episode of Modern Family and hey, it's amazing. And then at the end, I see the credits and script generated by AI. I'll feel like someone has tricked me. You know, like, you could have told me up front that AI wrote this. You tricked me into consuming this. And now where are we? I think there has to be a way. Someone says transparency is the key. I think that's it. There's going to be people who cannot write to save their lives, who are just going to use AI to create their work and lie and pretend that they did it. Because there are people who cheat. There's human beings who believe, for whatever reason, that cheating is the only way to get ahead. So there are people that are going to try and hide it. Perhaps we should have a repository of all AI-generated work, who generated it when, so that when they do get something published, we can compare it to what AI has generated, and then let them know, well, this is not human-created work, even though you're trying to claim it is. It's AI-generated work. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but we will find out in a few years. I also fear that while we debate AI and its usefulness or not, or its threat to humanity and to what we know now or not, I fear that a more urgent issue is going to come. In the desert in Nigeria, in parts of the desert in Nigeria, we've had floods. In the desert, I watched images of New York submerged. There's one of the Pacific islands that is starting to upload their culture to the cloud. They're going to become a virtual country, because very soon, due to the climate emergency, their country will be no more. I suspect that we're going to be overrun by that, because I believe in science, and if the scientists have told us step by step, this is what's going to happen if we don't stop using fossil fuel, if we don't stop burning fossil fuel, and we're still burning fossil fuel. And the oil companies that knew decades ago that their product was the culprit, they're still making profits. We're still happy with them. They've ruined the ability of Earth to support humanity as we know it. There's no doubt about that. And it's not reversible. I think that while we're debating AI and robots and all of that, and whether or not Jeff Bezos has his priorities right, shooting rockets, him and the other one, I think the climate crisis will catch up with us. I think wars will be fought over fresh water. I think African countries will be invaded anew and in different ways, because our technology and those who hold superior technology, so to say, they've always been guided by capitalism, and humans are just variables in their profitability formulae. And I think that's a more urgent, issue. And I think we all know it, and I think we are resigned to the hopelessness of it all. And I think that's why, apart from the eco warriors, artists are not really doing a lot about it. We're not writing books about it. We're not creating music about it, poetry about it, films about it. We're not. We're ignoring it. Like, we don't want to know. Like, okay, we're pretending it's not there. It's the head in the sand syndrome, I think. I hope I'm wrong. I paint a very bleak image. I hope I'm wrong. I hope I can continue writing the Amaka series ad infinitum, and one day, after I've written like 50 Amaka books, I hope I'll be able to put them all together into my AI, specialized AI, which would only generate the next installment of my novel based on my work and my work alone. I think that way AI would be okay to use, but then again, what do I know?
Is
Hey.
that the new way to achieve immortality?
Oh yeah, well, you know, ancient Egyptians used to say that a person dies two deaths. Once when the body dies, and second, when the name is spoken for the last time. So, you know, if you want to live forever, do something very notorious. Yeah, but I don't know. I don't want to be perceived as a pessimist, but I am overwhelmed by the corruption in the world. I wholeheartedly agree with your observation. I just don't see how we can enact change peacefully when we have very little influence, if not taken by force. Irvin, you're so right. I have a potential solution. I'm hoping I'll be invited back another time after saying this, but I have a solution, you know. I think patriarchy is at the center of everything that's wrong with humanity. Hear me out. A system that, I mean, when you look at the UN, United Nations meetings, it's all men, isn't it? Men, maybe a token woman here or there. How can only one segment of society make decisions for all of society? In fact, let's put it this way, straight men. How can we think they're all straight, all these straight men who are the leaders of all these countries in the world and the CEOs of all these big companies, how can they make decisions for all of us? We know that decisions based on half the perspectives available is not just half as bad or half as good, it's going to be bad in ways that we can't even tell. We know that diversity is important to creativity. We know that the point of diversity is not so that I can say, oh, look, I have a Martian working for me. No, it's because diversity on any team gives different perspective, different ways to look at the same problem. And when we have all those different perspectives, then we see the problem properly. When we have not, when the world, when men have barred women from the most important decisions of humanity, we end up with what we have now. I strongly doubt that women would willingly send children to war. I don't think it'll happen. I strongly doubt that women will focus as leaders, right, purely on economic growth, which is destroying the planet upon which we live. And I think that's the problem. I think patriarchy is what leads to capitalism, is what leads to wars, is what leads to, look, and patriarchy is such a terrible thing. I have never come home late at night. My train station is about 5 minutes away. It's in a dark alley. You come off the main road. It's in an industrial area, so there's no life, as it were. I have never come home late at night and I see a bunch of women on the street and I'm afraid. It's never happened to me, ever. But I see one guy, one dude, late at night, I'm watching him. I'm thinking, okay, how is he walking? Is he looking at me? Is he quickening his steps? Should I cross the road? Right? So we know, there's no two things about it. We know that we say the world is dangerous, but who makes it dangerous? Men, right? We know that men, not men per se, but a system that allows men to usurp power from everyone else, especially cisgendered heterosexual men. And I'm one of them, but I have to say it, right? We know it's the problem. Now, my good friend, Mona El Thawe, a feminist writer and activist. She asks a very simple question. She says, how many men must we kill before they stop killing us? She has this question at every talk she gives. And, you know, people go wild, and then some poor guy there is afraid and saying, but that's a very violent thing to say. And then she starts to reel out the statistics. As we're speaking now, women are being killed, being molested by their partners as we speak, disproportionately to anything else. Femicide is a disease that is ravaging the world as we speak right now. Nothing has been done about it. Sky News is one of the big news stations in the UK. Just a couple of days ago, they invited two guests onto the morning show, and you know they both zoomed in, as it were, and the anchor was talking to them about misogyny. And so the lady said something about, you know, misogyny at workplace, and then the guy says to her, oh, you're complaining about having to wake up and get paid to be on telly. Only then did it occur to the lady, who's also a guest, that she didn't get paid. The guy who was paid by the news station to talk against women, to claim that misogyny doesn't exist, was paid to appear. The woman wasn't paid. This still happens today. Now, we cannot live in a world like that is corrupt to its core and think anything will work. My solution I really wish that, you know, like we had Black Lives Matter. I wish we had a global uprising of women. I'll probably be, you know, I'll be caught up in it in some way. I will have to actively either willingly surrender my privileges as a man or have them stripped from me. But that's the only way. And this is the one thing people don't understand. If we arrange the world such that women, as equal humans, are allowed equal voice and equal participation, we get rid of patriarchy, every single human's standard of living, well-being will increase. Maybe not billionaires, but everybody else's standards would increase. So patriarchy is not a problem for women. It's a problem for me as well. I want to live in a safe world. You know, I want to live in a world where people don't go to war, where we don't push and push and push for GDP growth rates while killing people. I want to live in a world that is free and fair. And trust me, not one country in this world is really free and fair until you have equal representation of women everywhere. I think that's the solution, and I think men can't do anything about it. We cannot solve this problem. We can't. Until women decide one day that enough is enough, and, you know, it'll make a great story. You know, women have been plotting this for a while, men did not know. And then one morning they wake up and, you know, victims of abuse in abusive relationships just smother their partners in bed. You know, and at first the governments will be going, oh, what's happening? They'll make announcements, they'll declare curfews, but all the women in the world, damn. We'll create a new world. I don't think it's going to happen. I hope it happens. All right. Because when a woman is taken care of, she then takes care of true. Thanks, Errol. It's the biggest problem we have. And patriarchy, and the only solution, I think, is that women just do something about it. You know. But anyway, I have gone very, very much off topic. I tend to do that when I'm talking about stuff I'm passionate about, so forgive me. Who's the young person? Hello, you. Are you going to be a writer?
That's my son.
What's their name?
Mason.
Hello, JC. Cool. All right. Any thoughts? Any questions about the books before I leave? Do you still want me to do a reading? Do we still have time?
We have about 8 minutes.
Ooh. Ooh. So how would you like to use this time, people?
You can ask questions.
Yeah, let's do questions. I won't be able to do a reading in that time. I apologize. Any questions?
I have one question. The only question I had the last 2 minutes I didn't kind of hear because my son about some of the stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. What's the question? He wants to be.
Venetia, you can put it in chat if you want. Meanwhile, does anybody else have a
Yeah,
question?
Joshua has a question in the chat.
Oh,
I
please.
asked all authors this, but what are your opinions on fan fiction and derivative fiction? Brilliant. I love it. In a way, I started writing fan fiction as a kid. I was trying to write James Bond novels and stuff, but let's not talk about that. Yeah, I think it's amazing. It's an act of creativity. It's brilliant. I love it. Okay.
Ariana, please go ahead. I believe she's raised her hand.
Oh, hi. I know you said something about how writer's block doesn't really exist. And as an artist and who sometimes write, like I kind of get creative blocks, but you said it's partially due to laziness. I want to know how to combat that laziness so you can be more productive in your writing, because I feel like it's like a genuine block. Like I don't have like inspiration, all that. So I want to know what your advice or opinion.
Yeah, I just say walk through it. I'll explain it to you, right? If I go to a dentist, right, and I'm sat on the dead chair and, they put that in my mouth and all of that. And then the dentist comes in and looks in my mouth like, ooh, that's a huge cavity. That must really hurt. Yeah, it does. I'm sorry, I have dentist block. Really? It's a job. So there are days I don't feel like doing the job. There are days when I have to dig deep in me, and there are days it just doesn't work. And on days it doesn't work, rather than say to myself, I have writer's block, I say to myself, I'm going to take a break, an active break. What do I mean by active break? I know what I want to write. I know the bit I'm working on, what I want to paint, whatever. And then I just hold that I say that to myself, and then I go about my life. So my subconscious is still there, percolating. Now, the importance of not saying to myself, I have writer's block is this. Your body listens to you. Your physiology listens to you. There was a time people thought something called neuro-linguistic programming was fake science, right? Meaning you can use language to program yourself. But we now know how it works. It's through some system called the reticular activating system. Go look it up, right? What you say to your body believes. There was a time, okay, so I go to the gym. I used to go to the gym 3 times a week, and I used to have to wake up at 5 a.m. to get to the gym near work, do my workouts, cool down, go into the office, right? And I was saying to my gym instructor one day, I said to them, every single day I have to go to the gym. Every morning I have to go to the gym. I just wake up with some pain somewhere I never knew before. I never had the night before. Either my ankle, and I was joking that my body is kind of, is working with me to not go to the gym. And then this guy, who's also a coach, by the way, is a fitness coach. He says to me, have you tried NLP? I'm like, well, I know what NLP is. I'm like, no, I haven't. It's like, okay, well, we use it a lot in sports. So the reason you feel that pain, he said to me, is because the night before the gym, you're already in your mind, you don't want to go. You're thinking, oh no, I have to go to the gym tomorrow. which is true. And then my body responds by giving me an excuse not to go to the gym. It's true. So he said to me instead, I want you to consciously say to yourself, I get to go to the gym tomorrow. Because I'd done the course, I knew about it. I didn't really take it seriously because it sounded too to me. I just thought, you know what? Okay, I'll try it. And I did. I woke up before my alarm. And I can tell you now, hand on chest, ever since that day, many years ago, when it's a gym morning, I don't wake up feeling I don't want to go to the gym. Simply because I've said to my body, to myself, mentally or outright, I get to go to the gym tomorrow. I reframe it as something I'm eager to do. So do use this, but don't say to yourself you have writer's block, because your brain, your entire physiology will agree with you. They've done experiments where people who believe they have bad luck, so they invited a whole bunch of people to come and do an experiment. They didn't tell them what about. They had them fill in questionnaires, and the questionnaires were designed to determine people who thought they had good luck and people who thought they had bad luck. After filling out the forms, they told each person to go to another building in the complex to go submit the form. Consistently, in a very statistical, significant, constant amount, the people who believed they had good luck found the £5 notes on the floor consistently. The people who believed that they had bad luck consistently failed to see the money. It's not like their bodies did not see it, but they had told themselves that they had bad luck. So when their eyes saw the money, it created instant cognitive dissonance in their brains, because no, that would mean we have good luck, but you have bad luck. So they don't see it. So their brain erases it. It's powerful stuff. So please don't say to yourself you have writer's block. Just say to yourself you need to take a rest, and that's it. That said, what I said about writer's block, I could very well be wrong, because we might discover the science of it one day. Who knows? MRI machines might show us that is what causes writer's block. But for now, I just don't believe it. I think power through it, and then come back to it and refine it. I don't think any piece of art is great instantly. It starts up as a mess, Michelangelo did not make those, it wasn't perfect initially, Writers, we don't write good books initially. The first manuscript is always terrible, and then you keep working at it to make it better, but it's work. That's all it is. It's a job, and you turn up for the job. At least that's the way I see it. Did that answer your question? Did that help? We have to
That
get
helped
off.
a lot. Thank you. I really liked it.
All right.
Yes. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, it is this is the least pleasant part of my job, is to remind all of us, including me, that there is something called a clock, and I want to be respectful of everyone's time. So I must say, we have to stop, unfortunately. There is so much more to talk about, and that is indeed very thought-provoking remarks that our guest has made. So I appreciate that very much. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Artists are the ultimate realists. They seem to be pessimistic, but that's because they are realistic. They tell us what the real situation is, and at the same time, they confirm our humanity. And I thank Leye Adenle for giving us that very quick tour of the dangers posed by technology, but also there's room for hope. And I thank you, Leye, for joining us. And ultimately, the realist is the optimist. So thank you very much.
Like that.
And best wishes to all. And Thank you.
Thank you all. See you next time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Harry.